Steve, just in general, what have you made about this recent stretch post deadline for the group?
Yeah, listen, it's fun to see. I mean, watching some of these younger players come up and they've worked hard in their career and they're starting to demonstrate they're pretty good at what they do too. So, and I think it's fun for the fans, right? I mean, winning's better than losing. I mean, generally, and so. So I think it's creating a little excitement, and hopefully it'll carry through to the end of the year and give us good feelings into next year.
Has understanding that it is a small sample size, has it in any way shifted your perspective on how close or how far away you may be to where you want to go next year?
Well, listen, this year wasn't great, right? And so, yes, it is a small sample, but underneath, I think there's a lot of things to kind of be excited by. The development of our young players is significant. That creates a nice foundation for next year. It'd be great if we can get Soto and Lindor on the field at the same time, right? That'd be kind of fun to see, and have them play a full season together. That's impactful, obviously impactful. And having Francisco back, you can see the energy that comes back, and what a great player he is. And I think getting him on the field really matters. A lot of players, we've had new players and they've adjusted to New York, and you can imagine them feeling much more comfortable next year. And so I think there's a lot to look forward to here. I see that the foundation of something that I think we can get behind. But we'll see how it goes, right? But I'm getting more optimistic. I like what I see, and hopefully it continues.
Steve, what goes into your commitment to David in the front office right now?
Listen, I'm committed to David. I've said that before. We're going to move forward, and I thought we had a great trade deadline. Listen, David is smart. He knows what he's doing. He's very adaptable. He learns from mistakes, and that's what I want in a leader.
What mistakes do you think he made this year?
Well, listen. I can argue we might have taken too much risk, as far as when you think about all the changes that were made, and whenever there are significant changes, sometimes it takes a while to integrate, and so those are the things I'm looking at, and it's an example where we can do better.
Steve, as far as with David staying, what are the ways you can improve for next year? I mean, you've put a lot of money into your team so far, obviously. You need a new manager. Is there something you've identified that will make this team get back to where you want it to be?
Listen, I think it's a process. I don't think there are any magic bullets out there. But I'm a process guy, and if you think the processes are good and repeatable processes that generally generate good results over time, I think that's all you can do. You can't manufacture players in your farm system overnight. Free agency, as we see, can be dicey, and so all you can do is make the best decisions you can and then build from that.
What qualities have you identified as something that you want to see in a future manager?
Yeah, I think I want a manager that can really relate to the players. I love the idea of a manager that motivates the players. As we know, playing baseball is an up and down, right? People have great moments and go into slumps, and so how do you get the best out of your players? And I think that's pretty important.
What do you think of the job Andy Green has done, and would you consider bringing him back as manager?
Well, I'm going to take him at face value. He's telling us that he wants to go back to the front office, and so we're going to do a managerial search. And if it turns out he wants to throw his hat to the ring, that'll be great.
Is prior MLB managing experience a prerequisite?
Is it a prerequisite? I'm going to leave that to David. That's a little bit in the weeds for me. What I really think, I think we'll see quality candidates, and then we can figure out what to do next.
When you say David maybe took too much risk, are you talking about coaching staff, players?
I just think when you add new players, when you had a coaching staff, when you know there was a maybe adding players with an injury history. When you add risk upon risk upon risk, one risk alone, but when you add enough risk to something, all of a sudden you can have a dispersion of results. Now, it doesn't mean that it had to turn out bad. It just means that you have dispersion of results in it, and maybe the possibility of a undesirable result is more of a possibility because of the risk you're taking. I equate it to running a portfolio. The more risk you take in a portfolio, you can have major upside, but also your downside can be bigger, and so that you can have bigger variance in results. And I think that's what happened here.
With this team, considering the money that you put into it, Steve.
No,
sorry.
that's right. I was just going to follow up with in terms of the coaching staff. Do you think maybe he did too much too soon there? Like,
I don't see it as a question of too much, coaching staff, or I just think I look at it as in the whole. And when I look at it in a whole, I see, decisions, that individual decisions that are, make perfect sense. But when you add it all up, then you get into a different realm of, did we take too much risk? Okay, so it's kind of looking at it from a top-down perspective as opposed to an individual decision. I don't know, does that make sense, Steve? Okay, yeah.
I was just going to say, with the amount of money that you've put in, Steve, and the return you've got on the investment this year, does it change how you think about?
Is that a positive return?
Not a great investment. Not a great investment this year.
Okay.
But I mean, has it changed at all about what you think on how to build a team as far as spending?
Yeah.
Like, would you think of maybe, hey, listen, we have to look at other areas to make this team better, as opposed to me just writing some big checks to get the best players?
What are the areas to make the team better? Farm system, trades, staff, and free agency. I mean, free agency is a negative expected value game. Okay, it just is. And so if you got to constantly dip into free agency and you do it enough, that can come back to bite you. And so I've always said the goal is to create a sustainable farm system that's producing players like we did this year. We produced, multiple players that are going to be around for a while here. And I think that's how you build a team. I know the fans like it, right? So I think, that would be my preference. But if you have to fill in holes, you have to fill in holes too. So you got to be tactical, but every time you dip into free agency, you just know that that's a tough place to be.
How much has the uncertainty labor-wise affected your ability to make this team better, you think, next year? Just not knowing the system you could be operating.
I don't think a lot's going to change next year. Okay, I mean, I don't know how these talks are going to go, but there's a window before December 1st to make decisions and move our team forward. And if we get the opportunity to do it, we're going to do it.
What did you like about the trade deadline? I know you mentioned liking it. Just what are some of the best parts of your
Well, I mean, I don't know the players, right? But I'm just looking at the results like you're looking at the results, right? I mean, they look pretty good, right? Now it's over a short period of time. But when you look and see the value we got back, lots of different types of players, which is kind of fun. And it's a great infusion of young talent in our system, and I'm hoping that works out.
Steve, how do you square having that good process, but also coming up with the results of taking on so much risk?
Well, I think the front office is really robust in their processes. Okay, and I think there are opportunities to do tweaks to improve that. And so you can always improve process. And that may be an area that we can look at.
You've mentioned a couple of times, you're watching guys have to get used to playing in New York. Have you talked to anyone or had any conclusions about ways you can make that easier when you acquire new players, or it's just kind of? Well,
maybe if you guys weren't around, that would help. No, it's a joke, guys. I don't know if that's a joke. All right. I mean, it's more than that. It's not easy to come to New York, with a big media presence, and lots of eyes on you. It's not easy to change teams in general. let alone. And so, you have to expect some adjustment process. It's not true with everybody, but we've seen it a lot, and that's just part of the gig. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know how to short circuit that.
In the same vein, as you consistently dig into these processes, is there anything that you've uncovered that can at least predict better who may be suited to handle the pressure here that is so different than so many places?
Yeah, listen, I think we do extensive due diligence, and we try to get to know the player as well as we can. But that's a hard one, right? I mean, especially if you get off to a rough start here. I mean, it takes a little bit of time to adjust, and they do adjust. I mean, most players do, and they're professionals, but I mean, it's you do as much work as you can to figure out who this player is.
Do you think we should there should be more emphasis on keeping New York proven? Our players who've proven they can play in New York and play here. If you had those players,
well, what are you saying?
Like I'm talking about players adjusting to New York.
Yeah.
If you have players who've proven they can handle New York and playing here, should there be more emphasis on keeping them here?
I think you got to look at it each situation, I mean, if you can eliminate a risk, and it's giving you the production or that you're looking for, I mean, that's probably a good place to start.
Do you think it would be prudent to bring people on that maybe have a better vision on how to identify what those players look like?
Well, I think we do that already, okay, and any way that we can buttress and add support in that area, I think can add potential positive returns. It can be a good thing.
Now, in terms of a future manager, how much authority, or will he have authority over his coaching staff, and if he can make changes there?
I'm going to leave that to David. I don't get involved in that stuff. Okay, I mean, I'll meet the manager and have an opinion, but I let them sort that out.
You think Alex Cora is somebody you guys would talk to?
Okay, I'm sure there's a bunch of names out there. So once again, they'll do a managerial search and they'll figure it out then.
Talked about the fact that you would be annoyed if you guys didn't make back-to-back playoff appearances.
Yeah.
How would you talk a little about the optimism?
Does that make me annoyed now?
I don't know. That's the question. How would you describe your move when you go into the offseason?
I've already passed the annoyance part. I'm now on the acceptance part. Right? What's the question?
That's essentially the question.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Obviously, you expressed some optimism about kind of where
So what am I going to do? Right here we are. Okay, and it's obviously disappointing. And we only have 35 games left, and we start playing. Hopefully we continue a winning kind of spirit and keep it going, which I think will bode well for next year. But at some point you got to turn the page and look forward and see what we can do in 27.
Steve, we've put the Dodgers on such a pedestal as kind of the paragon team, the spending and all that. They've had troubles on the field with some of their free agents, haven't been performing. Off the field recently, there's been some stuff with ownership. What do you make of what's been going on over there?
Yeah, listen, I read what you read. It's an investigation. You don't really know exactly, where it's going. I hope, Mark can figure it out and put it behind him. Dodgers are still a strong team. They have strong revenues. Solid process. I think the Dodgers are going to continue to be a good team.
You look at guys like Carson Bench, Nolan McLean, and AJ Ewing, taking over and playing their first full seasons at an effective level. Do you see in the future kind of prioritizing the farm system, using guys in the top of the organization to kind of take over here?
Well, like I said, there's always a preference to homegrown players that come up and are controllable, and so but you're not gonna throw players in that perhaps don't belong on the field, and so once again it's a player by player analysis, but you know, part of my goal is to create a sustainable farm system that can produce players that impact the major league team.
You've expressed some concern in regression in the farm system mid-season. How do you feel about it now with the new additions?
Yeah, well, that was before the trade deadline, right? And so now it looks different, it looks better. We've seen some good performance from the players that were already there beforehand, and so that's looking better. Then the addition of infusion of new talent, you can kind of get excited by it.
Have you identified the genesis, rather, of the regression? The genesis of the regression?
I mean, I'm told, development is not linear, right? I mean, we've had players come up that have performed really well, and so, you're never going to bat 100%, right? It's you're never going to, or it's going to, ebb and flow, and so, and that's just the way it goes. But generally, I'm certainly seeing what everybody else is seeing, and that's kind of fun.